Okay, so today we're digging into a story from ancient history that honestly feels like it was pulled straight out of a modern sci-fi blockbuster. We're talking about a legend that's thousands of years old, but it's got sword-wielding mechanical soldiers. You heard me right. Let's get into it.
It's a wild question, I know, but it's exactly what pops into your head when you start reading certain ancient Pali texts. And we're not talking about myths of magic or gods here. We're talking about detailed descriptions of autonomous humanoid machines built for one single deadly purpose: to guard a secret.
Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't from some new movie script, it's from an ancient text called the Lokapannatti. It describes machines that are just terrifyingly effective. They're not spirits, they're not demons. They're something constructed, something mechanical, standing watch in a dark, forgotten chamber for centuries on end.
So, what's the story behind these things? Well, it all starts after the passing of the Buddha, with a king named Ajatasattu. He had this massive responsibility to protect the Buddha's sacred relics, and he came to a pretty stark conclusion. Human guards just weren't gonna cut it, you know? They get tired, they can be bribed, they can be beaten. He needed something better.
And so, he supposedly commissioned the creation of the Yantra Purusha, which literally translates to mechanical men. The name itself is pretty fascinating, right? But they were also called spirit movement machines, which gives you a sense of just how eerie and otherworldly these things must have seemed. Their one and only job? Patrol a secret underground vault and protect those relics no matter what.
And here's the really mind-blowing part. According to the legends, they actually worked. For centuries, generations, these silent sentinels just did their job perfectly. They never slept, they never failed. The secret was kept safe by these tireless sword-swinging machines, long after the kingdom that built them was nothing but dust.
Okay, so this all sounds like pure myth, right? Automatons in the ancient world, but what makes this story so compelling is that the texts actually hint at the engineering behind them. This wasn't supposed to be magic, it was mechanics. So how on earth would you build a robot back then, without any electricity, without any computers?
Well, let's break it down. It's basically a three-step process. First up, you need a power source. The text suggests they harnessed a hidden underground river to turn these massive water wheels, giving them a constant, reliable source of energy. Second, the code. Now think of it like a giant, very complex music box. You've got this rotating wooden drum with pegs sticking out, and as it turns, those pegs trip levers in a specific sequence. That's your physical loop of instructions. Raise arm, swung sword, step forward, repeat. And finally, actuation. All that raw power gets transferred through a central drive shaft out to the limbs, using a series of mechanical linkages to create movement. Honestly, it's brilliant.
This comparison really puts it all into perspective. Instead of lines of text in a software program, their code was literally hardware, physical pegs on a drum. It was a fixed loop, sure, not some complex conditional algorithm, but the fundamental idea, using a stored program of instructions to make a machine perform a specific, repeatable task, that is identical to the core principles of modern robotics and computing. This wasn't just clever mechanics, it was a form of proto-programming.
So where did this know-how even come from? The texts give us a really fascinating clue. They say the blueprints came from Roma Vashaya. Now, a lot of scholars think this is a reference to the Greco-Roman world, specifically the technological powerhouse of Hellenistic Alexandria. I mean, you had engineers there like Hero of Alexandria, who were famous for creating these incredible small-scale automata for things like temple doors and theater. So it seems that engineers in India took those same principles, hydraulics, cams, levers, and just scaled them way up for something far more serious: military defense.
So picture this. For centuries, these machines stand guard in perfect, deadly silence. But the story doesn't end there. Generations later, the great Emperor Ashoka rediscovers this secret vault. He wants to get the relics, of course, but to do that, he has to face down an army of ancient and still perfectly functional robots.
This timeline is really what makes the story so incredible. We're not talking about a machine that worked for a few years. We're talking centuries. A massive gap in history where these things just kept going. Can you imagine being Ashoka, holding a torch, stepping into this lost cavern, and seeing a line of these ancient wooden and metal soldiers still swinging their swords with lethal precision in the darkness?
I mean, that's the ultimate puzzle, isn't it? What do? You can't fight them, they don't feel pain, they never get tired, and they've been practicing this one move for hundreds of years. Brute force is completely useless. So how do you possibly solve a problem like a perfectly engineered ancient killing machine?
Well, Ashoka's solution wasn't about fighting the machines, it was about understanding them. The legend says he didn't just smash them to bits. No, he was smarter than that. He figured out their design, he found the source of their movement, essentially an ancient kill switch. By manipulating some kind of control mechanism, he was able to disconnect the limbs from the central drive shaft. The power was still flowing from the water wheels, but the connection was broken. The mechanical men just fell silent. It's an engineering problem with an engineering solution.
So let's circle all the way back. Were these the world's first Terminators? Okay, so they weren't time-traveling cyborgs sent from the future, but the core concept of an autonomous humanoid machine built specifically for combat, it is startlingly similar.
The biggest takeaway here, for me, is that the story of the Yantra Purusha doesn't treat these things as magic. It treats them as incredible feats of engineering. They were supposedly built using the absolute cutting-edge automation of their day. And what that really shows us is that our modern obsession with robotics and AI, it isn't new at all. The dream, and yeah, maybe the anxiety, of creating autonomous machines is a conversation that we've been having for literally thousands of years. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. The line between myth and technology is often just a matter of perspective, isn't it? It really makes you wonder, what other stories that we've dismissed as impossible legends are actually just descriptions of ancient engineering that we don't quite understand yet? What other secrets are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us in the pages of history?